When you hear the phrase sacred space, what comes to mind? Your home, your office, your mind, your heart. Your sacred space is more than just a physical location. It is a spiritual, emotional, and mental territory that defines who you are and who you allow into your life. Just like a garden needs fences to protect the seeds, your life needs boundaries to protect your dreams, your peace, and your potential. Without boundaries, you are at the mercy of circumstances, opinions, and distractions. You might be giving your energy to people who do not deserve it, or to things that do not contribute to your growth. Setting divine boundaries is not about pushing people away. It is about protecting your ability to receive, create, and thrive. It is about saying no to anything that drains you and yes to what elevates you. Imagine your life as a vessel. If the vessel has holes, water will leak and you will never reach fullness. Boundaries seal the vessel and allow you to hold and channel your life's blessings without spilling them on things that do not matter. Your sacred space begins in the mind. You cannot honor your physical space if your mind is cluttered with negative thoughts, doubts, and insecurities. Start by identifying what you will no longer tolerate. What habits, relationships, or environments steal your peace? Write them down. Naming them gives you power over them. This is the first act of divine boundary setting. It is intentional and deliberate. Then, extend your boundaries to your emotions. Your feelings are not disposable. Just because someone is upset or angry does not mean you have to absorb it. Learn to distinguish between empathy and emotional overextension. When you honor your feelings, you honor your sacred space. Do not let guilt, manipulation, or obligation dictate your emotional health. Physically, your sacred space may be a room, a house, or a personal corner where you think, reflect, and plan. Protect it. Guard it against chaos, clutter, and intrusion. When you walk into your space, it should feel like a temple, a place that restores, inspires, and empowers you. Respect the space as much as you respect yourself. Boundaries are also relational. Not everyone deserves access to your time, attention, or energy. Some people come into your life for seasons, not lifetimes. Knowing the difference is wisdom. Honor your sacred space by limiting exposure to toxic people. It is not selfish, it is self-preservation. Spiritually, setting boundaries allows you to receive clarity, guidance, and inspiration without interference. When your life is organized and protected, you are available for opportunities that are aligned with your purpose. Distractions fade, noise quiets, and the divine flow becomes visible. Financial boundaries are equally crucial. Your money is a resource, not an obligation to fulfill everyone else's desires. Decide what your finances are for and stick to it. The more you honor your financial boundaries, the more abundance you can cultivate in your sacred space. Time is sacred. The most precious resource you have is your 24 hours. Do not give it away to activities, people, or media that do not contribute to your growth. Schedule your time around your priorities and protect it fiercely. When your time is guarded, your life begins to feel purposeful. Your sacred space also requires consistency. Boundaries are not a one-time declaration. They are a daily commitment. Revisit them, refine them, and enforce them. Every day you honor your boundaries, you teach the world how to treat you, and you reinforce the value of your space. Finally, remember this: the world will test your boundaries. It will push, pull, and tempt you to compromise. But the strength of your sacred space is measured by how well you protect it. When you commit to boundaries, you commit to yourself, your dreams, and your destiny. Listen closely. Honoring your sacred space is not arrogance, it is wisdom. It is not selfishness, it is survival. It is not isolation, it is preparation for greatness. When you master your sacred space, you master your life. You become unstoppable, unshakable, and unrepeatable. People will feel your power, your clarity, and your peace. Boundaries are the invisible force field that allows your life to rise without interference. Respect them, enforce them, and watch as doors open, opportunities multiply, and your life expands in ways you never imagined. Everything in your life begins in the mind. The way you think, the decisions you make, the people you allow into your space, the opportunities you chase, all start with clarity of thought. Boundaries are not just physical fences or rules you impose on others. They are mental structures, invisible lines that you draw in your mind before they ever manifest in the world. Without clarity, you cannot know where your boundaries lie, and without boundaries, you cannot protect your energy, your focus, or your destiny. Imagine a river flowing freely without banks. The water will spread, dissipate, and lose direction. The same is true for your life when your mind is unclear and your boundaries are weak. Think about the everyday choices you make. When you wake up, how do you start your day? Do you check your phone immediately and get caught in a flood of other people's thoughts and demands? Or do you take a moment to center yourself and define what today is for you? That simple moment is your mental boundary. It says, this day is mine, and I will not let outside noise dictate my focus or my peace. The clarity in your mind determines how well you can enforce boundaries in your life. If your mind is cluttered, overwhelmed, or distracted, every decision becomes reactive, and your energy is spent reacting instead of creating. Look at your relationships. How often do we get pulled into arguments, expectations, or drama because we never set the line in our mind first? Clarity is knowing what you will accept and what you will not, knowing who can influence you and who cannot, knowing that your worth is not determined by someone else's opinion. When you have this clarity in your mind, you can navigate life with confidence. You can say no without guilt, you can step back without fear, and you can hold your sacred space without compromise. Consider a young professional who wants to succeed, but constantly allows colleagues to distract them with gossip or unnecessary tasks. Without mental boundaries, they are like a ship without a rudder, tossed by every wave of other people's priorities. But once they establish in their mind what is important, what tasks, what goals, what values, they begin to protect their time, focus, and energy. Clarity creates power because once the mind is decisive, the world cannot easily sway it. Sometimes people think boundaries are about keeping others out, but true boundaries are about keeping yourself in control. A parent might feel guilty for saying no to a child, or a friend might feel selfish for limiting time with someone. But the truth is, when you set mental boundaries first, you teach others how to respect you while you maintain your own focus. Clarity in the mind makes the heart stronger. Clarity in the mind creates respect. Clarity in the mind gives you the courage to live your purpose without compromise. Think about financial decisions. How often do people overspend, overcommit, or overextend themselves because they never set a mental limit first? The first line of defense is in the mind. If you do not know how much you will save, how much you will invest, how much you will allow yourself to give away, then your resources will leak like water from an unsealed container. Clarity in your financial mindset allows you to protect your wealth, channel it purposefully, and grow it beyond what distractions or pressure could ever diminish. Even in emotional life, boundaries begin in the mind. You cannot protect your emotions if you have not first decided how far you will go, what you will accept, and what you will not tolerate. Consider a friend who constantly complains, criticizes, or drains your energy. Without a mental boundary, you absorb their negativity, and it begins to erode your own peace. But when you clearly define in your mind the limits of your emotional investment, you can listen with compassion without being consumed. Clarity in the mind allows empathy without surrendering yourself. Clarity also shapes your vision. If you are unclear about your goals, dreams, or calling, then external pressures will determine your path. A young entrepreneur might start a business inspired by someone else's success, only to find themselves lost because they never clarified in their mind why they are doing it in the first place. Once they define their purpose clearly, the mental boundaries fall into place. This is what I will pursue. This is what I will not compromise. This is who I will become. Clarity in the mind transforms indecision into action, confusion into strategy, and distraction into alignment. Even small decisions matter. Deciding in your mind that mornings are for focus and evenings are for rest, that weekends are for family and personal growth, that certain conversations are off limits until you are ready. All these mental boundaries accumulate to create a life that is purposeful, protected, and powerful. Your mind is the architect of your boundaries. What you build in thought manifests in reality. A clear mind creates clear space, and a clear space allows miracles to flow unobstructed. The people who accomplish greatness in life understand this principle. They are deliberate about what they allow in and what they keep out. They understand that distraction is the enemy of destiny and that clarity is the most powerful tool they have. Mental boundaries are not walls to isolate. They are lines to define, structures to protect, and channels to guide energy toward what truly matters. Clarity in the mind is not a luxury, it is a necessity. Without it, your sacred space is vulnerable, your focus is compromised, and your potential is limited. Every decision you make, every thought you entertain, every priority you set is either strengthening your boundaries or weakening them. If you are unclear, others will define your limits for you, and you will be living a life of reaction instead of creation. If you are clear, you set the tone for your environment, your relationships, and your destiny. The mind is the first battlefield for boundaries, and clarity is the weapon that ensures victory. You will find that when clarity is present in your mind, life becomes simpler. Distractions lose their power. Toxic people lose their influence. Unnecessary obligations fade. And the space you have created becomes a fertile ground for growth, success, and peace. Clarity creates power, and power begins in the mind, not in circumstances, not in wealth, not in recognition, but in the deliberate decision to know what you will allow, what you will protect, and what you will pursue. Emotions are powerful forces in our lives. They can lift us to the highest peaks or pull us into the deepest valleys, and yet most people allow their emotions to be hijacked by everyone and everything around them. Imagine walking through a crowded marketplace carrying a glass of water. Every bump, every push, every careless hand threatens to spill it. If you do not protect that glass, it will empty before you even reach your destination. Your emotional energy is like that glass of water, and your boundaries are what keep it intact. Without them, you are at the mercy of other people's anger, fear, jealousy, or frustration. And eventually, you find yourself drained, exhausted, and incapable of focusing on your own purpose. Think about the friend who constantly complains, who always sees the negative in every situation. At first, you listen because you care, because you want to help, because you feel responsible for their pain. But over time, you start to feel heavy, anxious, and frustrated. What you are feeling is not yours. It is the accumulation of emotions you have absorbed without intention. Emotional boundaries prevent that absorption. They allow you to show compassion without carrying the weight of someone else's unresolved issues. They give you the ability to love and support without being consumed. Consider the workplace. Every office has individuals who criticize, gossip, or vent their frustrations. If you do not set emotional boundaries, you will find yourself participating in negativity, feeling stressed about matters that are not yours, or losing focus on your own work. But when you clearly define your emotional limits, you can listen, acknowledge, and respond when necessary, but you do not allow the negative energy to infiltrate your mind or heart. Boundaries allow you to be present without being contaminated. Even within families, emotional boundaries are crucial. Sometimes relatives unknowingly project their fears, insecurities, or disappointments onto you. Without a mental and emotional shield, you start to carry burdens that are not yours. You begin to question your own worth, your own decisions, your own abilities. Setting emotional boundaries does not mean you stop loving or caring. It means you honor your own heart and energy first. You recognize that you cannot pour from an empty cup, and that your emotional integrity is a gift not only to yourself, but also to those who depend on you. Think about daily interactions with strangers. Someone cuts you off in traffic, someone snaps at you for no reason, someone blames you circumstances you cannot control. The natural tendency is to react, to absorb the tension, to let it affect your mood. Emotional boundaries teach you to pause, to recognize that this negativity is not yours, and to release it without letting it linger. Your feelings are sacred, and no one has the right to pollute them without your consent. Even in romantic relationships, emotional boundaries are essential. One partner's insecurities or temper does not have to dictate the emotional climate of the relationship. You can listen, understand, and support without internalizing their anger or self-doubt. When you maintain emotional boundaries, you create a space where love can flourish without being smothered by negativity. Love does not mean sacrifice of your peace, and peace is the soil in which love grows. Children are also affected by the emotional atmosphere around them. Parents who cannot maintain emotional boundaries often transmit their unresolved fears, anxieties, and frustrations to their children. The children absorb these emotions, shaping their worldview and limiting their potential. By teaching yourself to maintain emotional boundaries, you also model emotional intelligence for the next generation, showing them how to protect their inner peace while still being compassionate and connected. In friendships, emotional boundaries prevent resentment from building. When you constantly absorb your friends' worries, complaints, or envy, it eventually weighs on your spirit. Boundaries allow you to engage fully, but also to step back when necessary to protect your energy and to recharge. You learn to give without losing yourself, to love without being consumed, to care without being chained. Emotional boundaries are also about discernment. They teach you to recognize which emotions belong to you and which do not. When a colleague loses their temper, when a friend complains endlessly, when a stranger lashes out, You can feel empathy without taking ownership. You do not carry the emotional baggage of everyone else. Instead, you maintain clarity, balance, and perspective. Your heart remains light, your mind remains focused, and your energy remains directed toward your own growth. The world will constantly present negativity, but your response is what defines your life. You can choose to absorb it and be weighed down, or you can establish emotional boundaries and maintain your peace, purpose, and power. Boundaries do not make you cold or disconnected. They make you resilient, intentional, and capable of handling life's challenges without being diminished. They allow you to transform negative encounters into lessons, obstacles into opportunities, and challenges into platforms for strength. Emotional boundaries prevent the accumulation of resentment, frustration, and stress. They create space for joy, creativity, and clarity. When you honor your emotions by protecting them, you also honor yourself. You demonstrate self-respect, discipline, and wisdom. You teach others how to treat you, and in doing so, you create a life that is centered, purposeful, and full of peace. Emotional boundaries do not isolate you. They empower you to connect with the world from a place of abundance, not depletion. Even in moments of conflict, emotional boundaries are your anchor. You can respond thoughtfully rather than react impulsively. You can engage with love rather than being driven by anger. You can maintain control over your own emotional climate while allowing others to experience theirs. This is not weakness, this is mastery. This is the art of living without being pulled under by the currents of negativity that surround you. Every day, life will test your emotional boundaries. Someone will provoke, someone will complain, someone will criticize. The choice is always yours. Will you absorb it? Let it weigh you down, let it define your day. Or will you maintain your sacred emotional space, respond with clarity, and protect your peace? When you practice this consistently, you become a force of calm in a chaotic world, a source of strength in turbulent times, and a beacon of balance for those around you. Your physical space is a reflection of your inner world. If your home, your office, or even your personal corner is chaotic, cluttered, or neglected, it will drain your energy, scatter your focus, and cloud your mind. Imagine walking into a room filled with piles of unfinished tasks, stacks of papers, clothes on the floor, and objects left unattended. The moment you step in, your mind begins to race. Your thoughts are no longer clear. Your peace is compromised before you even sit down to work, to reflect, or to create. Your surroundings are a silent influence on your mood, your energy, and your productivity. The first step in honoring your sacred space is to design it intentionally, to ensure that every corner, every object, every detail contributes to restoration, clarity, and peace. Think about your bedroom. This is the place where your body rests, where your mind renews, and where your soul finds quiet after the demands of the day. If your bedroom is cluttered, disorganized, or chaotic, it will steal your rest. You may not even realize it, but the disarray whispers into your subconscious, reminding you of unfinished tasks, obligations, and stress. When you intentionally organize, clean, and create a serene environment, you allow your mind to relax and your body to recover. Your sleep becomes deeper, your thoughts become sharper, and your energy becomes abundant. A space that inspires peace is not luxury, it is necessity, because without restoration, your potential is compromised. Consider your workspace. How many people work at desks overflowing with papers, gadgets, and distractions and wonder why they feel overwhelmed, stressed, or unproductive? Your physical space either supports your goals or sabotages them. If your environment is noisy, cluttered, or uninspiring, it drains focus and creativity. On the other hand, when you create a workspace that is organized, purposeful, and aesthetically pleasing, your mind aligns with productivity. Every object has a place, every tool has a purpose, and every corner reflects your commitment to your mission. Your environment is an extension of your discipline, and when it is maintained with intention, it restores your energy and inspires clarity. Even the small details matter. The chair you sit on, the lighting in your room, the colors around you, the smells you breathe, all of these contribute to your state of mind. Subtle touches like a plant on the windowsill, a candle, or a simple arrangement of meaningful objects can transform a space from ordinary to sacred. These elements signal to your mind and body that this is a place for calm, for reflection, for creation, and for restoration. Every time you enter the space, your senses are reminded that you are protected, valued, and prepared to thrive. Think about a daily routine. When you wake up, your room greets you. When you return home from work, your apartment or house welcomes you. If it is disordered, it adds to stress instead of relieving it. If it is restored, it replenishes your energy and restores your focus. Your physical space is a tool for emotional and mental health. Just as athletes carefully design their training spaces, or artists design their studios, you too must design your environment for excellence and peace. The external order influences the internal calm, and the internal calm allows you to perform, think, and create at your highest level. Your sacred space is also about boundaries with others. Clutter is often the result of allowing too much intrusion, too much access, or too many competing priorities. When you curate your space, you are signaling to the world that this is your sanctuary, this is your foundation, and you will not allow chaos to take root. People will unconsciously respect your space when it is clear, organized, and intentional, and you will unconsciously respect yourself more as you maintain it. A sacred physical environment becomes a physical declaration of self-worth, discipline, and focus. Consider how a well-maintained space influences relationships. Friends, family, and colleagues who enter a serene environment feel calm, welcomed, and respected. They are more likely to engage with you in meaningful ways because the energy of the space encourages presence and connection rather than distraction and stress. Your physical space communicates without words. It speaks to clarity, purpose, and restoration. When you honor this space, you not only protect your own peace, but you also create an atmosphere where others can thrive and feel nurtured. Even outside the home, your sacred space matters. Your car, your personal corners in public spaces, even your digital space are part of this equation. A clean, organized, and intentional environment signals to your mind that you are prepared, focused, and capable. Your surroundings either energize you or deplete you, and often the depletion comes from neglect. When you take ownership of your physical space, you take ownership of your life. You demonstrate self-respect, intentionality, and discipline. Think about the times when you have felt most at peace, most inspired, most productive. Often, it is not just the circumstances, but the environment itself. A quiet corner, a well-lit room, a desk cleared of distractions, a simple arrangement of meaningful objects. These are the spaces that invite focus, restore energy, and elevate your mind. Your physical environment is a partner in your growth, a silent ally that either supports or hinders your progress. Creating a sacred space is not about perfection. It is about intention. It is about ensuring that your environment serves you, restores you, and inspires you. Clutter, noise, chaos, and disorder do not have to dominate your life. With deliberate effort, you can transform any space into a sanctuary, a place where your mind can be clear, your heart can be calm, and your energy can be replenished. Your physical space is a reflection of how you value yourself. And when you honor it, you honor your purpose, your dreams, and your potential relationships are the most powerful influence in your life. They shape your thoughts, your habits, your emotions, and even your destiny. Every person you allow into your life brings energy with them. Energy that can either elevate you or drain you, energize you or exhaust you, inspire you or confuse you. Relational boundaries are the lines you draw to protect your energy, your focus, and your peace. They are not walls to isolate. They are shields that allow you to engage with others without being consumed by their negativity, drama, or chaos. Imagine your life as a garden. If you plant flowers but allow weeds to grow unchecked, the weeds will choke the life from the flowers. Your relational boundaries are what keep the weeds at bay, ensuring your garden thrives, flourishes, and grows toward the light. Consider the people you spend most of your time with. Friends, colleagues, family, and even casual acquaintances all leave an imprint on your mind and heart. A friend who constantly complains or criticizes will, over time, influence your mood, perspective, and energy. A colleague who gossips or undermines others will affect your sense of confidence and clarity. A family member who is controlling or overly critical can drain your emotional reserves. If you do not set relational boundaries, you are essentially giving away your energy to people who do not respect it, who do not value it, and who do not contribute to your growth. Relational boundaries begin with self-awareness. You must understand who you are, what you value, and what you will no longer tolerate. This is not about arrogance or selfishness. It is about self-preservation and respect for your own purpose. When you are clear about your values, you can see when someone crosses a line. For example, if you value honesty and integrity, and a friend consistently deceives or manipulates, that is a breach of your relational boundary. Recognizing it allows you to act with wisdom rather than react with emotion. Boundaries give you the power to decide who influences your life and who does not. Think about romantic relationships. When you are involved with someone who constantly disrespects your time, emotions, or goals, your energy is drained and your potential is limited. Relational boundaries teach you to identify what behaviors are unacceptable and to communicate them clearly. They allow you to engage with love and compassion while still protecting your peace and personal growth. A relationship without boundaries is like a boat without a rudder. It is at the mercy of every wave of emotion, drama, or conflict that comes along. Boundaries give direction, structure, and protection. Even friendships require boundaries. Not everyone is meant to be close to you, and not everyone should have access to your deepest thoughts or your time. Some friends bring inspiration, support, and encouragement. Others bring jealousy, negativity, or distraction. Relational boundaries allow you to prioritize connections that elevate you while distancing yourself from relationships that drain you. It is not rejection, it is strategic protection of your energy so that you can remain focused on your purpose and your calling. Family relationships are often the most challenging because we feel obligated to tolerate behaviors that are toxic or draining. A cousin who constantly criticizes, a sibling who manipulates, or a parent who projects fears onto you can sap your energy if you do not set boundaries. Relational boundaries here might mean limiting time, clarifying expectations, or even learning to say no when necessary. Your energy is sacred, and even love does not require you to sacrifice your peace. Boundaries ensure that family connections are balanced, respectful, and supportive rather than exhausting. At work, relational boundaries are essential for mental clarity and career growth. Colleagues who gossip, complain, or compete destructively can erode your confidence, focus, and motivation. Relational boundaries might mean keeping conversations professional, limiting time with toxic coworkers, or refusing to engage in office politics. These boundaries are not about being distant or cold. They are about preserving the energy you need to perform at your best, to innovate, and to advance without unnecessary interference. Even casual interactions affect your energy. Every conversation, every encounter, every social media interaction carries energy. Relational boundaries teach you to protect yourself from negativity before it infiltrates your mind. When a stranger is rude, a neighbor gossips, or someone tries to pull you into conflict, a well-established boundary allows you to disengage without guilt or fear. Your sacred energy is not up for grabs, and relational boundaries ensure that you remain centered, calm, and focused no matter what the world throws at you. Boundaries also allow for personal growth. When you protect your energy from toxic influences, you create space for learning, reflection, and creativity. You can spend time with people who inspire you, who challenge you positively, and who encourage you to be your best self. Relational boundaries are like a filter. They remove the harmful elements while allowing the nourishing elements to enter. Without this filter, your potential is diluted, your focus scattered, and your spirit weakened. Relational boundaries are ultimately about empowerment. They are about claiming ownership of your life, your energy, and your destiny. They teach others how to treat you while giving you the freedom to live intentionally. When you enforce relational boundaries consistently, you notice a shift in the quality of your relationships, the clarity of your purpose, and the peace in your life. People who once drained you either adjust, respect your limits, or drift away. And this is a natural part of the process. Protecting your energy is not selfish. It is essential for achieving your goals, fulfilling your purpose, and living a life of excellence. Every day you will encounter people who test your boundaries. A friend who complains, a coworker who criticizes, a family member who manipulates. The choice is always yours. Do you allow them to drain your energy? Or do you protect your sacred space by maintaining relational boundaries? The people who honor your boundaries are the ones worth investing in. The ones who disregard them are teaching you the value of discernment, clarity, and self-respect. Your energy is sacred, and relational boundaries are the tool that ensures it remains intact, abundant, and directed toward your destiny. Your spiritual life is the compass of your existence. It guides your decisions, shapes your purpose, and directs your energy toward what truly matters. Without spiritual boundaries, your life becomes a river without banks, flowing wherever external forces push it. Clarity, focus, and alignment are only possible when you consciously set limits around your spiritual energy, protecting it from distractions, negativity, and influences that pull you away from your purpose. Imagine your spirit as a flame. If you let every wind of opinion, every storm of doubt, every gust of fear blow upon it, it flickers, weakens, and struggles to illuminate your path. Spiritual boundaries shield that flame, ensuring it burns steadily, clearly, and powerfully so that your life moves with intention and divine order. Consider the average day of a person who has no spiritual boundaries. They wake up checking social media, absorbing every opinion, fear, and drama that crosses their path. Their mind fills with noise before they even set foot into their own purpose. They may work, socialize, or make decisions reacting to circumstances rather than directing their life intentionally. Their spiritual energy is scattered, diluted by distractions, and misaligned with their deepest calling. Setting boundaries is the act of reclaiming that energy, of saying, this time, this focus, this intention belongs to me, and I will not allow anything to disturb it. Spiritual boundaries are not about isolation or avoidance. They are about protecting the sacred connection between your inner self and your purpose. Think about a student preparing for an important exam. They cannot absorb knowledge if they are constantly interrupted by noise, messages, or distractions. They must create a space that allows focus, a time when learning flows uninterrupted, a mind that is not scattered. The same principle applies to your spiritual life. You must protect your time for reflection, meditation, study, and prayer. These boundaries allow clarity, letting you discern what is important, what is aligned with your purpose, and what is simply noise that will lead you astray. Relationships can either nourish your spiritual energy or drain it. Some friends, colleagues, or acquaintances carry skepticism, doubt, or negativity that clouds your vision and confuses your decisions. Spiritual boundaries teach you to engage selectively. You can maintain love, respect, and compassion while refusing to let their energy dilute your own. Just as a gardener protects young plants from weeds and pests, you protect your spiritual life from influences that stunt growth or lead to misalignment. The clearer you are about your boundaries, the sharper your focus becomes, and the more aligned your actions are with your purpose. Consider your goals and vision. How many times have people abandoned their dreams because they allowed other people's opinions, fears, or pressures to take over? Spiritual boundaries create space for divine alignment. They allow you to distinguish between external distractions and the internal voice that guides you toward your destiny. If you are not clear about what belongs to your spirit and what belongs to the world, your actions will be reactive, your focus scattered, and your energy wasted. Boundaries restore clarity by reminding you who you are, what you are called to do, and what will serve your highest purpose. Spiritual boundaries also create consistency in your life. When you establish times for reflection, meditation, study, or contemplation, you signal to your mind and spirit that this is sacred, non-negotiable, and protected. These boundaries cultivate discipline, and discipline produces results. Consider a professional athlete or artist. They achieve excellence not just through talent, but through consistent, protected practice. Spiritual practice is no different. Boundaries create the structure within which clarity, focus, and divine alignment can flourish. Without them, life is chaotic, scattered, and reactive. Even daily distractions can erode your spiritual energy. Notifications, unimportant conversations, negative news, or even trivial conflicts consume attention, create confusion, and dilute your focus. By setting spiritual boundaries, you learn to distinguish between what deserves your energy and what does not. You begin to protect the moments that matter, the thoughts that uplift, and the actions that propel you toward your purpose. The stronger your boundaries, the more resilient your clarity and focus become, and the more aligned your life is with the direction your spirit desires. Think about decision making. When spiritual boundaries are intact, your decisions are guided by clarity, wisdom, and purpose rather than fear, distraction, or external pressure. A business owner who is aligned spiritually does not make impulsive choices based on trends, opinions, or criticism. A parent who is spiritually grounded responds with wisdom rather than reacting emotionally to conflict. A student who protects their spiritual space studies with focus and absorbs knowledge efficiently. Boundaries give the mind and spirit the room to discern, reflect, and act intentionally. Your spiritual boundaries are also a shield against burnout and emotional depletion. People often give themselves fully to obligations, relationships, or work without replenishing their spiritual energy. They give until the flame dims, until they are exhausted, until clarity is lost. Boundaries protect that sacred fuel. By reserving time for reflection, study, meditation, and prayer, you ensure that your energy remains abundant, your focus sharp, and your alignment with purpose intact. Your spiritual energy becomes a source of strength, not depletion, and a guide rather than a distraction. Finally, the practice of spiritual boundaries cultivates a life of intentionality. Clarity, focus, and divine alignment are not random. They are cultivated through consistent protection of your energy and attention. When you honor these boundaries, you move with confidence, make decisions with wisdom, and respond to challenges with insight rather than reaction. The world will constantly present distractions, temptations, and pressures to compromise your spiritual space. The stronger your boundaries, the clearer your mind, the sharper your focus, and the deeper your alignment with the calling that belongs uniquely to you. Your financial resources are one of the most powerful tools you have to shape your life, your future, and your destiny. Money is energy, and energy follows intention. Without boundaries, your money can be pulled in every direction, spent on distractions, obligations, or pressures that do not serve your growth. Financial boundaries are not about being stingy or selfish. They are about establishing control, discipline, and wisdom over the flow of your resources. Imagine pouring water into a container full of holes. No matter how much you pour, the water leaks away. Your money works the same way without boundaries. When you define limits, track your spending, and allocate resources intentionally, you seal the holes and allow your wealth to grow, multiply, and serve your purpose. Consider everyday life. A young professional earns a salary but immediately spends on unnecessary gadgets, subscriptions, or social pressures. Without awareness, their income disappears as quickly as it comes. There is no growth, no security, no ability to invest in the future. Financial boundaries in this situation would mean creating a budget, defining priorities, and distinguishing between wants and needs. Boundaries give you the power to decide where your money goes, ensuring it serves your goals rather than someone else's expectations. Even families need financial boundaries. A parent might feel obligated to support relatives beyond their means, or a spouse may overspend without regard for shared goals. Without clearly defined limits, money becomes a source of stress, conflict, and depletion. Financial boundaries allow you to honor commitments while protecting your resources. They create clarity about what you can give, when you can give, and what must be reserved for your future growth and security. Boundaries prevent misuse and allow abundance to flourish. Think about the difference between impulsive spending and intentional investment. Impulsive spending drains energy, confidence, and opportunity. Intentional investment builds security, freedom, and power. Someone who invests in themselves, their education, their business, or meaningful opportunities applies financial boundaries in practice. They decide that a portion of their income is sacred, untouchable except for growth purposes. This kind of discipline may feel restrictive at first, but it cultivates abundance over time, allowing resources to compound and opportunities to multiply. Financial boundaries are also about resisting external pressures. Friends, family, and society often impose expectations about lifestyle, status, and possessions. Without boundaries, you may find yourself spending to impress, borrowing to appear successful, or giving beyond your means to please others. Every time you yield to pressure, you compromise your financial health and your freedom. Boundaries empower you to make choices that are aligned with your goals, not dictated by the desires or opinions of others. Even in business, financial boundaries are critical. A business owner who allows clients or partners to manipulate payment terms, undervalue work, or exploit resources will quickly find their company struggling. Boundaries in contracts, budgets, and pricing protect the integrity of the business and ensure sustainability. They create a structure where income flows predictably, expenses are managed wisely, and investments are strategic rather than reactive. Financial boundaries are not limitations. They are tools of empowerment that allow your resources to work for you rather than against you. Consider daily routines like spending habits, subscriptions, and small purchases. These seemingly minor decisions accumulate into significant outcomes over time. A cup of coffee every day. Impulse purchases online or eating out constantly may seem harmless, but over months and years, they can consume thousands of dollars. Financial boundaries help you become conscious of these habits, redirect resources toward meaningful goals, and protect your long-term wealth. Intentionality in small actions compounds into abundant results. Financial boundaries also teach discipline and patience. Wealth is rarely created overnight. It is cultivated through consistent decisions that honor limits and prioritize long-term growth. Someone who budgets, saves, and invests rather than spending recklessly demonstrates the principle of delayed gratification. Boundaries create a framework in which patience is rewarded and scarcity is replaced with abundance. They train your mind to see resources as tools rather than toys, as seeds rather than instant gratification. Even generosity must be guided by financial boundaries. Giving is powerful, but without limits, you may give to the point of depletion, leaving nothing for your own growth or obligations. Financial boundaries allow you to give strategically, meaningfully, and sustainably. You can support causes, help people, and contribute to your community without sacrificing your own stability or potential. When managed wisely, your resources create a ripple effect that benefits not only you but everyone connected to your life. Finally, financial boundaries cultivate peace of mind. Uncertainty, stress, and anxiety often stem from mismanaged resources, unclear limits, or reactive spending. Boundaries create clarity, predictability, and confidence. When you know where your money goes, what it is for, and how it supports your life and purpose, you gain control over your destiny. Abundance is not just a number in the bank. It is the freedom to act, the confidence to plan, and the power to pursue opportunities without fear. Every decision made within financial boundaries multiplies resources, protects your energy, and aligns your wealth with your purpose. Time is the most valuable resource you will ever have. It is the one thing you cannot earn more of, borrow, or recover once it is gone. Yet most people give it away carelessly, distracted by trivialities, obligations that are not theirs, or the endless demands of other people's priorities. Without boundaries, your life becomes reactive, scattered, and unfulfilled. Time boundaries are the lines you draw to protect this precious resource, to ensure that your focus remains on what truly matters and that your energy is directed toward your purpose rather than frittered away on distractions. Imagine a candle burning at both ends. If you allow every task, demand, or distraction to consume your hours, your energy is depleted and your vision dims. Time boundaries preserve the flame of your potential and allow it to illuminate your path with clarity and focus. Consider a person who wakes up and immediately checks their phone, responding to notifications, emails, and social media. Hours pass before they have even engaged with their own goals or priorities. They feel busy, yet productive they are not. The time has been spent reacting to the world rather than directing their own life. By establishing time boundaries, they could define the first hour of their day for focus, reflection, and planning. That hour becomes sacred, non-negotiable, and protected. It sets the tone for the rest of the day, ensuring that actions align with priorities and purpose rather than the chaos of others' demands. Even in work environments, time boundaries are essential. An employee without limits is constantly pulled into unnecessary meetings, interruptions, and requests that are not part of their core responsibilities. Productivity suffers, energy is drained, and frustration builds. Establishing time boundaries allows a person to allocate blocks for deep work, critical tasks, and personal development. It creates a rhythm where distractions are minimized, efficiency is maximized, and goals are met consistently. The person who honors time boundaries works smarter, not longer, and achieves more with the same hours than someone who is reactive to every demand. Relationships also require time boundaries. Friends, family, and colleagues often demand more of your time than is sustainable, and without limits, you may find yourself exhausted, resentful, or neglecting your own priorities. Setting clear expectations about when you are available, when you are focusing, and when you need space teaches others to respect your energy and your purpose. It is not selfish, it is strategic. Just as a gardener protects the hours of sunlight for plants to grow, you must protect your time so that your goals, dreams, and purpose can flourish. Think about your personal growth. Reading, studying, reflecting, and learning require uninterrupted time. Without boundaries, these activities are squeezed out by the trivialities of daily life. A student or professional who dedicates specific time blocks for growth develops faster, learns more, and advances beyond peers who react constantly to interruptions. Time boundaries are a declaration that your development is important, that your progress is intentional, and that your purpose is non-negotiable. Even leisure and rest require boundaries. If you do not schedule moments for restoration, you risk burnout and reduced efficiency. Time boundaries ensure that work, play, and rest are balanced in a way that supports long-term performance. Someone who respects these limits finds energy, clarity, and inspiration flowing naturally, while someone who does not is perpetually exhausted and reactive. Managing time intentionally is not restriction, it is freedom. Freedom to focus, freedom to grow, freedom to create the life you are called to live. Consider daily routines, small tasks, and habits. Without boundaries, even minor activities can accumulate into major time drains. Unplanned errands, endless social media scrolling, trivial conversations, And distractions that seem harmless can consume hours that should be invested in priorities. By setting time boundaries, you consciously decide what deserves your attention and what does not. You direct your energy toward high-value tasks, relationships, and goals, and you protect your time from elements that dilute focus and purpose. Time boundaries also cultivate discipline. Life is filled with urgent but not important matters. Reacting to every small demand leads to exhaustion, distraction, and mediocrity. Boundaries teach you to differentiate between the urgent and the essential, to prioritize tasks that move you closer to your purpose, and to decline interruptions without guilt. This is not about ignoring responsibilities. It is about ensuring that your resources, especially time, are directed toward maximum impact. Disciplined use of time accelerates success, sharpens focus, and strengthens resolve. Even unexpected events require boundaries. Emergencies, opportunities, and distractions constantly present themselves. A person without time boundaries will allow these to dictate the course of their day, week, or even year. A person with boundaries evaluates carefully, asks whether the event aligns with priorities, and then decides intentionally. They do not allow urgency to replace importance, and they do not allow chaos to dictate purpose. Time boundaries create resilience against distractions and clarity in decision making. Finally, time boundaries are about honoring yourself and your mission. Every hour you protect, every block you allocate to focus on priorities, every interruption you wisely decline is a declaration that your life has value, that your purpose matters, and that your energy is sacred. People who master time understand that freedom, abundance, and success are created not by luck or opportunity alone, but by intentional management of hours, minutes, and moments. Every decision about how you use your time compounds, and consistent respect for boundaries ensures that your life is spent moving toward what is most meaningful, most aligned, and most powerful. Authority is not something given lightly. It is earned through consistency, clarity, and discipline. When you set boundaries but fail to enforce them consistently, your word becomes weak, your influence diminishes, and your energy is easily compromised. Boundaries are like the pillars of a building. If they are shaky or inconsistent, the structure cannot stand. Consistency in enforcing boundaries demonstrates that you are in control of your life, that your energy is sacred, and that your purpose is non-negotiable. Imagine a parent who tells a child not to touch the stove, but sometimes ignores the warning. The child quickly learns to test limits, to challenge authority, and to disregard instructions. The same principle applies to your life. When you enforce boundaries consistently, people understand and respect your limits. When you do not, they push, manipulate, and take advantage, intentionally or unintentionally. Consider a workplace scenario. A manager who sets rules about deadlines, responsibilities, or office behavior, but allows exceptions inconsistently, will quickly lose authority. Employees begin to interpret boundaries as suggestions rather than rules. Morale may decline, productivity suffers, and chaos becomes the default. But when a leader enforces boundaries consistently, respect grows. People understand the expectations, recognize the consequences, and operate within the framework established. Consistency in enforcement is the difference between a leader and a figurehead, between someone who commands respect and someone who is ignored. Even in personal relationships, consistency matters profoundly. If you communicate clearly that certain behaviors are unacceptable, such as disrespect, manipulation, or intrusion, but sometimes ignore them, you send mixed signals. Friends, partners, or family members may push boundaries, test limits, and erode your peace. Consistency in enforcing boundaries teaches others how to treat you. It does not make you rigid or unloving. It makes you reliable, predictable, and powerful in your presence. Your energy is protected, your purpose remains undistracted, and your authority over your life is undeniable. Consider the small but meaningful examples of daily life. Someone who consistently protects their time by refusing unnecessary interruptions signals to the world that their hours are valuable. Someone who consistently declines requests that compromise their priorities demonstrates self-respect. Someone who consistently maintains financial discipline communicates that their resources are sacred and purpose-driven. Each act of consistent boundary enforcement reinforces authority, and over time, builds a reputation of integrity, discipline, and power. People learn that when you set limits, you mean what you say, and they adjust their behavior accordingly. Consistency also strengthens your internal authority, not just the perception others have of you. Every time you enforce a boundary, you train your mind and character. You reinforce the understanding that your priorities, values, and energy are important. Over time, consistency builds confidence, clarity, and resilience. You no longer doubt your decisions or waver under pressure. When a request or challenge arises, your response is measured, intentional, and aligned with your principles. This internal authority allows you to operate from a place of strength rather than fear, and it ensures that your life remains centered on your purpose rather than external influence. Think about children or students. A teacher who enforces classroom rules inconsistently will quickly lose control and respect. A parent who disciplines sporadically creates confusion and rebellion. Consistency is what builds order, understanding, and accountability. In life, the same rule applies. When you consistently enforce your boundaries, people learn that your word is reliable, your actions predictable, and your energy not negotiable. You set the standard and others rise to meet it, whether consciously or unconsciously. Authority is a reflection of consistency, not just intention. Even your personal growth is influenced by consistency in boundaries. Consider someone who decides to study, exercise, or meditate, but does so irregularly. Results are minimal and focus is scattered. Now imagine enforcing a schedule and protecting the time set aside for growth with consistency. The results compound, discipline strengthens, and your personal authority over your own life increases. Consistency turns intention into habit, habit into results, and results into influence. It is the bridge between dreams and reality. Social situations also test consistency. Friends, co-workers, and family members may attempt to push limits to see if your boundaries are negotiable. If you bend occasionally, they will continue to push. If you enforce limits consistently, respect naturally follows. Consistency communicates that your energy is sacred, your values are non-negotiable, and your life is intentional. It establishes a clear framework in which relationships, responsibilities, and interactions operate smoothly without manipulation or unnecessary strain. Consistency in enforcing boundaries also prevents resentment, frustration, and emotional depletion. When you waver, you carry unnecessary stress from people taking advantage or from guilt over unclear limits. By remaining consistent, you remove uncertainty and create predictability in your life. You teach others to meet you where you stand, and you teach yourself that your energy is worth defending. Each time you maintain your boundaries, you reinforce your authority internally and externally, creating a life where respect, clarity, and power are the natural outcomes. Finally, consistency turns boundaries into a force multiplier for your life. It magnifies influence, accelerates growth, and enhances relationships. Authority is not about domination. It is about creating an environment where your life operates with order, purpose, and respect. When you consistently enforce boundaries, people, circumstances, and opportunities align with your values and goals. You no longer react chaotically to external pressures because your internal and external authority are aligned. Consistency transforms ordinary boundaries into extraordinary power that shapes your destiny and protects your sacred space. Honoring boundaries is one of the most profound commitments you can make in your life because it is a commitment to yourself first, to your growth second, and to your destiny ultimately. Too often, people live their lives responding to the expectations, pressures, and demands of others without regard for their own limits, their own needs, or their own calling. When you honor your boundaries, you are saying to the world that your energy, your time, your spirit, and your resources are sacred and that you will no longer allow them to be wasted, compromised, or devalued. It is a declaration that you are serious about your purpose, serious about your potential, and serious about the life that has been designed for you. Consider the young professional who is constantly overworked because they cannot say no. They accept every project, attend every meeting, and take on every responsibility without question. At first, it may seem noble, generous, or even necessary to please others. But over time, they feel exhausted, disoriented, and detached from their own goals. Their boundaries were ignored, and the cost is their energy, clarity, and peace of mind. Honoring boundaries in this situation means pausing to evaluate what truly aligns with your priorities, being intentional about what you accept, and learning to say no without guilt. It is a commitment to self, ensuring that your energy serves your purpose rather than being scattered to satisfy others. Even in family life, honoring boundaries is a commitment to growth. Parents, siblings, or relatives may unintentionally demand too much of your attention or energy. Without limits, your personal development stalls because you are too busy tending to the needs, expectations, or dramas of others. Setting and maintaining boundaries allows you to invest in yourself, to learn, to develop skills, to grow spiritually, emotionally and intellectually. A person who honors their boundaries consistently becomes stronger, wiser, and more capable of fulfilling their purpose. Boundaries create the space for growth because they define the limits of what is allowed to drain you and what is meant to nourish you. Think about your spiritual life. Honoring boundaries in this area ensures clarity, focus, and alignment with your calling. Without boundaries, distractions, negative influences, and competing priorities cloud your vision. By setting limits, protecting sacred time, and guarding your energy, you create a life where your purpose can emerge clearly. A student who dedicates a specific time for reflection, meditation, or study every day honors their spiritual boundary. Over time, this practice shapes character, sharpens insight, and aligns decisions with destiny. Boundaries are not restrictions, they are invitations to live intentionally and fully. Financial decisions also reflect your commitment to self and growth. A person who spends indiscriminately or gives without limits is not honoring their resources. Boundaries in finances ensure that money is used for growth, security, and the pursuit of meaningful goals rather than for short-term gratification or external pressures. When you allocate, save, and invest with discipline, you demonstrate respect for yourself and your future. Every financial boundary you honor is a statement that your growth matters, that your potential is sacred, and that you are building a foundation for a destiny that cannot be shaken by frivolous decisions or external expectations. Relationships illustrate this principle vividly. Friends, colleagues, or partners who demand more than they give, or who are consistently negative, draining, or manipulative test your commitment to your own boundaries. Honoring your limits in these relationships is not rejection, it is affirmation. It is a commitment to yourself and your growth. It is choosing to surround yourself with influences that uplift, inspire, and challenge you constructively rather than allowing yourself to be diminished by circumstances outside of your control. Boundaries define the quality of people you allow into your life and reflect the seriousness with which you treat your personal evolution. Even your time demonstrates your commitment to self and destiny. When you honor your boundaries around your schedule, you protect the hours that matter most, allocating them to activities, tasks, and relationships that serve your long-term purpose. Distractions, interruptions, and obligations that are not aligned with your priorities are respectfully declined. This discipline creates clarity, reduces stress, and maximizes productivity. The more you honor your time boundaries, the more you demonstrate to yourself and the world that your life is intentional and that your destiny is worth defending. Honoring boundaries also cultivates self-respect. Each time you enforce a limit, you communicate to yourself that you matter, that your energy matters, and that your goals matter. Self-respect is the foundation for growth because without it, you will compromise, settle, or defer your purpose to satisfy the whims of others. Boundaries ensure that you do not dilute your potential, that you maintain integrity in your choices, and that your actions reflect the seriousness of your commitment to your own life. Consider the small, everyday examples. Choosing not to respond to unnecessary conflict, declining an invitation that distracts from your purpose, prioritizing time for study, exercise, or reflection, or refusing financial commitments that do not align with your growth. Each of these actions reinforces your boundaries, strengthens your self-respect, and propels you toward your destiny. Over time, these choices compound into a life characterized by clarity, energy, focus, and fulfillment. Ultimately, honoring boundaries is a daily demonstration of commitment to self, growth, and destiny. It requires awareness, courage, and discipline. It is the act of consciously choosing your path rather than drifting with the currents of expectation, distraction, or pressure. Boundaries are not limitations. They are empowering structures that protect your energy, amplify your potential, and create the space necessary for your life to flourish. The more consistently you honor your boundaries, the more clearly your purpose unfolds, the more fully your potential is realized, and the more powerfully your destiny manifests. As we come to the close of this reflection on boundaries, it is essential to recognize that boundaries are not merely rules or restrictions. They are declarations of your value, statements of your purpose, and shields for your energy. They are the invisible lines that protect your life, your focus, your growth, and your destiny. Every choice you make to honor these boundaries is a choice to honor yourself, to honor the vision that burns within you, and to claim the life that has been designed for you. There is a profound power in understanding that your life is not meant to be diluted by the demands, expectations, or chaos of the world. You are meant to live intentionally, purposefully and courageously. Consider for a moment the lives of those who have achieved greatness. Their secret is not simply talent, luck, or opportunity. It is discipline, clarity, and unwavering commitment to their purpose. They understood the importance of boundaries. They protected their energy, focused their time, invested their resources wisely, and chose their relationships intentionally. They recognized that every decision, every action, every thought, and every choice carries weight. They refused to allow distractions to dictate the flow of their life, and in doing so, they created a legacy that inspires generations. Your life too can be a masterpiece of focus, energy, and divine alignment if you honor the boundaries that protect your sacred space. Many people spend their lives reacting to circumstances, drifting in the currents of other people's expectations, and giving away their energy to matters that are insignificant. They wake up one day and realize that their dreams were delayed, their potential untapped, and their purpose compromised. Do not let that be your story. Choose today to set and enforce boundaries with clarity and consistency. Decide that your time, your energy, your resources, and your spirit are sacred. Decide that you will no longer compromise your growth or your destiny for temporary comfort, approval, or fear of rejection. The world will always present distractions, but your commitment to boundaries will ensure that you navigate it with precision, power, and peace. Remember, boundaries are not walls to isolate you from the world. They are doors that lead you to clarity, purpose, and excellence. They allow you to engage fully, to love deeply, and to give meaningfully without sacrificing the essence of who you are. When you honor your boundaries, you amplify your influence, strengthen your relationships, and elevate your capacity to achieve what you were designed to accomplish. Your energy becomes a beacon, your focus becomes sharp, and your life moves in alignment with the vision that is uniquely yours. It is important to recognize that honoring boundaries requires courage. It requires saying no when it is easier to say yes. It requires resisting pressure when it is easier to comply. It requires standing firm when others doubt, challenge, or criticize. Yet, this courage is the currency of leaders, visionaries, and those who are determined to fulfill their destiny. Courage and discipline go hand in hand. The stronger your boundaries, the more resilient your spirit becomes, and the more unstoppable your journey. Every time you defend your sacred space, you teach the world how to treat you, and you teach yourself the power of self-respect, integrity, and intentionality. Every great achievement begins with clarity of purpose and protection of focus. If you want to reach heights others only dream of, if you want to cultivate abundance in every area of your life, and if you want to leave a legacy of excellence, you must honor your boundaries. Invest your time in what matters, spend your resources wisely, guard your energy vigilantly, and protect your spirit diligently. Do not allow distractions, toxic relationships, or trivial pursuits to steal the most precious things you have: your attention, your focus, and your vision. Your boundaries are the architecture of your destiny, and they must be respected, reinforced, and upheld consistently. Consider your own life for a moment. What areas have you allowed to drift without boundaries? Where have you compromised your energy, your time, or your focus for the sake of comfort, approval, or fear? Reflection is the first step toward transformation. Awareness empowers you to take action. As you internalize the principles of boundaries, you will discover freedom, clarity, and an unstoppable momentum that aligns you with your purpose. The life you desire, the legacy you wish to leave, and the impact you are capable of making all begin with your commitment to honor what is sacred within you. Never forget, your life is your responsibility. The people around you cannot live it for you, and circumstances cannot dictate the quality of your existence unless you allow them. Boundaries are your tool, your weapon, and your shield. They give you the power to navigate the storms, to maintain clarity amidst chaos, and to move with precision toward the fulfillment of your destiny. Your energy is valuable, your focus is sacred, and your potential is limitless. Protect them, prioritize them, and never apologize for the life you are building with intention. As you leave today, carry with you the understanding that boundaries are not burdens, they are liberation. They are the compass that guides you through a world of distractions, the filter that preserves your energy, and the foundation upon which your greatness is built. Choose to honor your boundaries consistently, courageously, and passionately. Choose to value your time, your energy, your resources, and your spirit. Choose to live intentionally, lead with clarity, and pursue your purpose relentlessly. In the words of those who have inspired generations, greatness is not achieved by accident. It is achieved by discipline, clarity, and unwavering commitment to what matters most. Your destiny is waiting. Your purpose is calling. Your energy is sacred. Honor your boundaries, protect your sacred space, and move forward with the confidence, courage, and clarity that will allow your life to become the masterpiece it was meant to be. The world will test you, distractions will come, and challenges will arise, but the person who honors boundaries is unstoppable, unshakable, and destined to leave a legacy that inspires others for generations